Thank you, Samaria and Sapphire, and hello, Women Who Code. I'm Kimberly Bennett, Chief Legal Officer and Brand Strategist here at Women Who Code, and I'm really excited to be joining you for Connect Reimagine. And while we are still virtual, that doesn't take away from the level of connection that we have, from being in a place where we can be in various time zones in different cities, different countries, different continents, and still enjoy the same content, reflect on the same conversations, and really experience the change that we're all going to have over the next 2 days. So let's share where we are right now. And I know some of you have already been doing it in the chat, but drop it in the chat again. Let us know where you are right now and tell me what time it is right now. I love that because that gives me a sense of if you're watching us from your couch, or maybe you're taking your lunch break, or maybe you're just getting started for the day. Let us know where you're at. One thing I know that I've been able to embrace and take advantage of are the virtual platforms, because this past year has been a year, right? It's brought me to meet new people like you, and it's brought me back in connection with people maybe I haven't seen in a while, and we were able to do that on a virtual platform like this. And that was all because of the biggest thing that happened in the last 100 years, which was a pandemic. And so as we reflect on where we're going, I just want to take a moment right now as we step into what it is to reimagine. I want to reflect on where we came from in the past year and even before that. Because 2020 was a year, and that pandemic definitely took us off the course that many of us had planned, whether that was a business, whether that was professional, or even our personal life. The pandemic had its ebbs and flows, and in fact, it's still happening. And we're experiencing it right now in this very moment. And so as vaccines are starting to pick up, we know as a world, this is still something we are experiencing and hoping to get through together as fast as possible. And that meant because of the pandemic, we had to change how we operated. It was Zoom everything, right? We were Zooming with our friends and our family, saying hello. Maybe you had a coffee like me. But we weren't just Zooming with our friends and family, we were also Zooming with our teammates. I call it Zoomapalooza because we were Zooming all the time. Zoom, 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 right? And as someone who's worked virtual for over a decade, I will tell you this year was different, and it still is different. And that's because we had to learn better boundaries, thinking about moving into finding that right flow, being able to really understand what matters most to us, because the pandemic didn't just shed light on some of the issues that were happening in how we operated in our world, but also how we operated in our personal lives. While this wasn't a new issue, and it still isn't a new issue, and in fact, it's not a solved issue, while we were just experiencing the pandemic, we were also experiencing another call for racial justice for my community, the Black community, and our Brown community. Because at that time, a little over a year ago, we had experienced a really harsh reality call or reality check about where we were as a country. And in fact, where we were as a world and where we still are, unfortunately. And so as we move through this pandemic, as we still live and breathe this pandemic, as we're thinking about everything that's happening, and we come to today, while we made strides in responding to the pandemic, but we know many of those strides are still just in the US. They haven't really taken hold across the world. While we might be in Zoom overload, and while there's still continued calls for true and lasting equality around race, economics, and social issues, now is the time to continue to take action, to continue to move forward. Because to do the work that is required, that is necessary, particularly the work that we understood coming out of this pandemic and still living in the pandemic, quite honestly, is that we know that after pausing and reflecting and reviewing what worked and what didn't, and how we lived and how we educated our younger generations and how we wanted this world to be, is that we needed to now reimagine where this world should be and how we showed up for that world. And that's what reimagining, at least, is for me. So today, as we're thinking about reimagining, I have 3 calls to action for you as we all continue to this next phase of our journey to continuing doing this work, to continuing the momentum, to understanding that while no one could have envisioned what this year would have brought to us, this is the opportunity to leverage our power, our position, and our passion. This is the opportunity to leverage our authenticity, our alignment, and our authority. This is the opportunity to leverage our intention, our innovation, and the impact that we really want to create, to build and create the world in which we want to live in, to create the industry in which we want to change, to create the impact in which we really want to have. And so with that, I have 3, like I said, call to actions that I really want you to consider and then hopefully embrace as you go through today and tomorrow with Connect Reimagine, but then after that, because this is about continuing the work, doing what is necessary so that we can continue the momentum that started before the pandemic, that we had to reflect to see where we were during it, so that now as we're continuing into the pandemic and hopefully coming out of it, we can do the bigger, bolder work that gets us to the place that we want. And so the first call to action I have for you is to own your story. And why do I say that? Let's reflect last year, the pandemic, and maybe for you, you were already in this process. But last year when we were at Connect Digital, and Joey from our team at Women Who Code, she made this statement. It resonated with me so much. And it's that people cannot focus on their livelihoods until they feel safe and able to do so in their lives. And so over this past year, I know this has held true for probably every single one of us in different degrees for different reasons. But if you don't feel safe in your life, how can you feel safe in your livelihood? And so that means that you have to show up and own your full story, because your story is needed. Your story is necessary. In fact, we know when we're doing this work that diverse voices, inclusive organizations, places that bring a sense of belonging, bring about more impactful change into the work they do for their customers, for their clients, and for their communities. And right now we're celebrating Pride in the United States. When we're thinking about owning your story, Pride is a great example of it, because it's not just one story we're owning, it's an intersectional story about the experiences across race, gender, socioeconomic status, those that have been oppressed by others, but then stood up and fought back and owned their story. Whether we're thinking about, and this is definitely true in the US for Juneteenth. This is a US focused holiday, but Juneteenth, and thinking about what that means to recognize that day, this day, not just as any passing day, but the meaning and the value that it has for the ancestors of enslaved individuals in the United States. And as we continue to own our stories, as you continue to own your story and reimagining what it means to do the work that we're doing so that you can come with that perspective, the power in that will allow for you to create larger impact in your day-to-day life. And so, as Joey said, we cannot focus on our livelihoods until we feel safe and able to do so in our lives. And one of the ways to do that is to start owning your story authentically, fully, completely, in your full aligned self. So that as you're owning your story and recognizing the perspectives that you're bringing to the conversation, to the challenges, to the problems in which we're facing that we're trying to solve for our clients, for our customers, our communities, we can design the change that is needed to do the big, bold work that is required to move our continents, to move our world forward, to deal with this pandemic. Because technology is powerful. Technology changes things. Technology moves and accelerates momentum, because we can create the code, we can build the product, we can lead the team that designs the change. And even in our community, I know you can think about your coworkers, your friends, your colleagues that are doing it right now in their roles in their organizations, or even in their roles in their communities. And we have great examples right now in our current community. And in a few minutes, you'll hear from Keisha. She talks about how she's leveraging technology to bring salary transparency to our industry, which we know is so important. And not just for the tech industry, but across, right? How important that is for women, because we know the stats, we know the numbers, we've heard them. And so to bring that transparency allows for us to own our true story and design the change in real life and create the impact that we want. And then we have other volunteers in our community that, while their day-to-day doesn't deal with the pandemic, that they realize that they have the power to activate volunteers in India to help provide resources to aid with the response to the pandemic. And we know, and as we're watching, and as we are praying for India, that how needed is that? Because you don't have to wait for the change to happen. You can design that change. You can do it now in this very moment. And whatever position you hold, any power that you have, you can bring intention to what you're doing to create the impact that you want. That's the power of what it means to reimagine. It's not to stay stuck in what it was before, but to say, how can I step into it right now with the resources I currently have to do better, to be better, and to act day in, day out better to achieve a bigger, bolder goal. And then my final call to action for you is to take imperfect action. If you heard me talk before, you know how I feel about imperfect action. If we stay stuck in perfection, we will not move forward. And in fact, if we go back to Stonewall or any of the protests from this past year in the United States on racial justice, in fact, across the world, because it didn't just stop in the United States. If we waited for the perfect time to do the necessary work, would we be where we are today? No. And does that mean everything's going to happen in the exact moment the way we anticipated? No. But does that not mean that that action we've taken is progress? Yes, it is. Whether or not it succeeds, because all of that progress is feedback. All of that failure is feedback. Taking imperfect action is meaning we're not staying stuck. We're continuing down that journey to achieve our mission. Because again, we don't need to wait for the world to catch up to do the work that is necessary. And I think the thing that we all can reflect on this past year is that we could not have designed any of the things that have happened, but we kept on moving forward. We kept on thinking about how to work differently, how to connect with our family members and do a birthday party differently. For my niece, how to graduate college virtually. For me, how to celebrate my 20-year reunion virtually. For me to connect and think about working with and designing a fully remote team. And while that wasn't necessarily new for everyone, it still is new for so many of us. And how do we still design and achieve the impact that we want? We take imperfect action. We learn what worked and what didn't. We move forward and we continue that iteration. And all that is because we don't have to wait for the world to catch up, because we can do that right now with our current resources. We can reimagine what it looks like to work, what it looks like to find the right balance in our lives, what it looks like to establish community. We can reimagine everything, everything. Because the path we are on as an organization, the path you are on as an individual, the path we are on together to change our industry, maybe even change the world, has yet to be realized. So the work still continues. And the one thing that's true after this past year, and I know for us at Women Who Code, is that our mission is more important than ever. It's that reimagining the possibility, reimagining the impact that we could create, reimagining what it looks like to take big, bold moves and to create the change we want to see one step at a time, one community at a time, one organization at a time, one engineer at a time, to bring and lift each other up together. That's what reimagining looks like. It's like, and know what last year would have brought, now we have the opportunity to design better, bolder, and bigger. And so I look forward to learning how you are owning your power, designing the change, and taking imperfect action to reimagine this industry, to reimagine everything. And now, please help me welcome co-founder and Chief Executive Officer, Alaina.
Hello, I'm Alaina Percival, CEO and co-founder of Women Who Code. I'm thrilled for the opportunity to welcome you here today to celebrate 10 years of Women Who Code. 10 years of community supporting us to have stronger representation of diverse women in technology and leadership. Women Who Code started off as a small community of technologists in San Francisco back in 2011. We would meet, learn, build a sense of belonging and connections, and all of this resulted in engineering projects, career opportunities, and friendships. If you are wondering if you belong here, you do. I love this slide because the titles are actually from Connect attendees. And it's also inspiring because Catherine, who is a speaker at our conference in San Francisco, she met with one of our founding sponsors, Capital One, and ended up accepting a role with them as a senior technology director. Women Who Code's mission is to inspire women to excel in technology careers. This resonates with me deeply because there's never a point in your career, no matter how senior you are, that you stop needing support and community. In 2013, we formed the nonprofit that has become this global NGO because we firmly believe that people all over the world deserve to have access to this powerful community. Since then, we have grown to serve members in 134 countries. This growth took place in two phases. First, when we imagined it, we created the nonprofit. And then when we reimagined it last year due to the impact of COVID. One thing that has really struck me about this single event is that we have people from 88 countries represented. People from 88 countries united in the belief that tech is better with diverse women in it. We have a networking space, and I hope you'll take the opportunity to connect. It's actually one of my favorite things to do, and I hope we get a chance to meet. Our vision is of a world where diverse women are better represented as engineers and leaders in technology. Some of the ways you can engage in our mission and vision include our rich on-demand content available via our YouTube channel. It's constantly being updated with helpful talks and information. You can also join one of our 6 deep learning technical communities. We have an average of 5 free technical events every single day. So keep the momentum from this conference going by developing your skills and continuing to build your connections. I read an article yesterday that 26% of people are planning to change jobs after the pandemic. Your time is now. We have hundreds of companies with technical roles on our job board and great companies that are here today who are interested in connecting with you. I'd like to take a step back and reimagine impact. We're all here today investing in ourselves, but what does that mean at scale? Diverse women make up approximately 6.3 million technologists globally. So imagine, if by being a member of Women Who Code, investing in yourself, you end up receiving a $3,500 pay increase, that would make our annual market impact $1 billion. And our potential market impact is $22 billion. So I encourage you, make space for yourself to become 1 in 6 million, to generate that $22 billion of wealth for women and their families globally. I have some amazing people to acknowledge. This is Team Teal. We are a dedicated team whose diverse lived experiences reflect the communities we serve. And we have the honor of working towards this incredible mission every single day. I also want to introduce you to 3 people. Sasha, who started Women Who Code's meetup group back in 2011, and Zasmin, Michelle, and I, who envisioned the nonprofit that exists today. The collective work has become a global movement that hundreds of volunteers, members of Team Teal, advisors, and board members have helped shape and grow. So with that, I'm excited to announce Women Who Code has grown to serve 290,000 members globally. We would never have expanded this quickly without the volunteers who are both building and part of this community. I encourage you to connect with them and become one. So let's reimagine together. We know the tech industry is one of the most exciting high-growth industries that is shaping the future. You belong here. We need and want you to thrive, and together we will rise. Now, it's my great honor to call up Joey Rosenberg, Chief Leadership Officer. Welcome, Joey.
Thank you, Alaina, for that introduction. And hello, Women Who Code. It is an absolute honor to be here with you today to celebrate, connect, reimagine, and our community. Today, people from all over the world have gathered right here at this developer conference to explore tech, to share their knowledge and expertise, and to make meaningful connections. This is the power of community. We are in a special moment in our history where we get to reimagine everything. And today I'm really excited to share with you just a few ways that we're doing that here at Women Who Code. First, we are reimagining career. Right now, 1 in 7 people are actively navigating into a new industry. They're seeking opportunities that are flexible and considered future-proof, like tech. Many of you today are probably here thinking about your next career move, or you might know someone who is. In fact, by this time next year, some estimate that as many as half of us will have changed jobs. This is why I'm thrilled to introduce a new resource for you. Today, Women Who Code is announcing a new track, Women Who Code Career Nav. Career Nav will help make tech more accessible and demystify what it means to transition into this industry, to build career resiliency and level up. It brings proven Women Who Code resources together in one place, like our job board, career newsletters, pro tips, and community events, so that you can connect when you need it. As always, we'll be listening to our community as we roll out this new track to make sure that we have the right resources and tools in place for you to really support your career navigation. At Women Who Code, we are also reimagining leadership. Women Who Code has always been about inspiring diverse technologists to excel in their careers. Today, women are being left behind. Black and Latinx women and women in marginalized communities around the world are being disproportionately impacted. When diverse women are at the top of their organizations, we know that it's more likely that their companies will reflect this diversity across their units, and that bias will be identified and reduced from internal practices and in the products that you and I use every day. Right now, that gap is widening. About a third of women feel stalled and are thinking about leaving their tech career within a year. By mid-career, half actually will leave. Many of you, about 30%, are often the only woman in the room when surrounded by technical peers. That feeling is exacerbated by intersectionality. At Women Who Code, we believe in making space for diverse voices. We believe that when you are part of a community in spaces like Connect, you can actually feel just how much you belong in this industry. We are committed to making sure that diverse women have access to tools, resources, and a network that can help them move up the ladder into positions of power and influence that can shape their companies and our industry. We also know that a key rung on the leadership ladder continues to be ignored. While some gains have been made at the highest levels, we continue to see significant drop off in representation of diverse people in the move up from individual contributor to the first tier of leadership. Today, we're announcing steps that can change this. First, I'm thrilled to announce the Women Who Code Leadership Accelerator. This is a cohort series that will bring community members together to expand their leadership practice around 8 key leadership mindsets designed for technologists. We're starting with the presence mindset later this year, which aims to really activate individuals to recognize their value and move with intent through their careers. Thanks to generous support from partners like Keynote, this program opportunity will be made available to our Women Who Code leaders, and we are also actively seeking partnerships that will enable us to expand this offering to technologists globally. We're also excited to extend an opportunity to help you own your story. Earlier, Kim spoke about the importance of taking this step, and we want to make sure that our platform offers you a way to do just that. Finally, I'm happy to announce that applications for our next cohort of Leadership Fellows is now open. We're looking for incredible voices to lead our community while practicing their own leadership skills in real-life settings. If you're interested in any of these opportunities, you can sign up to learn more and be part of these exciting community developments by registering over in the expo at the Women Who Code program sign-up booth. In addition to new program offerings, Women Who Code is also reimagining community. And what that means in the context of the intense digital transformation that we've experienced in the last year and a half. I cannot wait to see you in person again. But in the meantime, we've learned so much about how far we can go when we leverage technology to keep us connected. We want to keep going. We've spent the last 10 years listening to what members need, and the last 2 years accelerating our digital transformation. One thing that we've consistently heard is that it's not always easy for members to find the resources they need at the moment that they need them. We've also heard that you'd prefer to be able to customize information that's available to you. For example, mobile engineers would find it most helpful if they were able to have quick access to mobile resources like events, coding resources, and mobile job opportunities. Today, I'm super excited to share the first ever preview of the new Women Who Code member dashboard. This will respond to all of those needs. Okay, are you ready? Someone should do a drum roll in the chat. I'm so excited to share with you the Women Who Code member dashboard. I love this dashboard. It is such an incredible tool for our community. Everything has been built and driven by user feedback. And we are incredibly lucky that right here today, we have with us the brilliant designer who brought this dashboard to life. Lindsay Podred is a talented designer from the Atlanta area who is going to be presenting a session later today to share her process along with design pro tips and a clickable prototype of the dashboard where you can try it out for yourself. Following her session, you'll find a booth in the expo where you can give feedback. It's really important for us to find out what's working for you. Also, while you're in that session, say hello to our dev team. They're going to be joining to listen out to see what they can do to continue building a Women Who Code that works for you. If you can't make Lindsay's session, don't worry. We're going to make that session and feedback form available for the next 2 weeks to our community. I'm looking forward to everything that is ahead of us. I'm excited to reimagine our world, how we tech, where we work, how we balance our lives, and what we demand for our communities, and of the leaders designated to guide and protect them. The future is exciting, and I have immense gratitude for this community and the opportunity to make space for important conversations and connections like the ones coming up over the next couple of days. I would like to take another opportunity to say a huge thank you to our sponsors who made it possible for us to be here today. I especially want to say thank you for supporting our conference in a way that ensured that every person who requested a scholarship could receive one. Be sure to stop by the expo throughout the conference, say hello, and learn more about our partners. Ask them what products they're building. what their dev teams are up to, and if they have any openings. I'm so grateful to be here with you today. I want to say a huge thank you for taking time out of your world to spend some time with us and connect with your community. Wishing everyone a wonderful Connect and a happy conference experience. I look forward to seeing you soon in the sessions and in networking. For now, I'll turn it back over to Sapphire and Samaria.